Hello, everyone. Welcome to this fifth edition of BIM Talks. Today we have Mr. Jugal Makwana, who is a very experienced industry professional. He has about 20 years of experience in the road and rail infrastructure, spread across design consultancy, software power user, sales management, support. He's been a certified product manager with more than many years of experience in this field. He's a strong believer in continuous learning, and he has developed a thorough understanding of strategic and tactical aspects of product and project life cycles from concept to delivery. He is currently a member on the board of directors of Building Smart International, an organization which is doing a lot of good work for Open BIM, and we'll definitely talk to him about that. He is also the member of the EFCA Digitalization and BIM Committee, and we'll ask him about that. Currently, he serves as Global Director, BIM Digital Engineering for the company Royal HaskoningDHV based in Netherlands. Welcome, Jugal.
Thank you, Pratap, for the invitation, and thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure to have an industry professional like you with us. Why don't we begin by talking about your company and its background and what you do there? Because I'm very fascinated with the firm. I looked up the website and you do a whole bunch of different things. You're a big company and you've been very active in this space for a long time.
Yeah, so I'm proud to be part of Royal HaskoningDHV, which is multidisciplinary architecture engineering consulting firm headquartered out of the Netherlands. Last year we celebrated 140 years
Wow.
of our formation. So technically, I think it makes one of the oldest independently held consulting firm.
Excellent.
So there is a significant knowledge and experience and expertise that the organization and the people have. And we work on almost all sectors: architecture, engineering, industry, water, transport, and all of that. My role primarily is to drive the digitalization and adoption and implementation of BIM and transitioning our organization from towards a more data-driven organization.
Wonderful. So I think this gives me the opportunity to ask my first question. There is a lot of new technologies that are coming up in the industry. Building information modeling is, I think, one of the foundational technologies, but there are things like drones, AR, VR, digital twins. You have now artificial intelligence-based applications, digital reality capture. And which of these tools and technologies are you using currently and you think are going to be a important must-have over the next few years?
A very interesting question, Pratap. What we see is we see BIM in Royal HaskoningDHV. We define BIM as better information management.
Okay, that's a good new definition. I love that. I'm going to use that with your permission.
Yeah, and it's not around, and we don't see BIM as part of technology. It is a very integral part of our journey from becoming a document to data-driven organization. Whereas what we are transitioning is towards just trying to understand what information is required, and then how do you manage that information and how do you use that information. So what you mentioned, let's say drones, AR, VR, so many of those are integral to the way we capture information and then the way we use information. So what is, I think, important for the industry and the stakeholders to understand is what is it that you're going to do with that information, right? So as we say that in terms of BIM, we say begin with the end in mind. So begin in our context, we say begin with your end in mind, right? So the roles that everyone has in these in the project life cycle vary significantly, right?
Right.
An architect would have a certain role. Their end would be different than what the end would be perceived for a contractor, right? So in that context, the information management perspective needs to be adapted towards those end in mind. And in that context, you have to see how best you capture data, right? What technology suits best for you to capture data, whether it is drones or LiDAR or simple survey or water imagery. And then how are you going to process that? What is it that you want at the end? And how do you
Okay.
want to consume it or use it? And that is what would be integral towards adopting the technology as well. So what we've seen is technology is not a challenge, a problem, right? There is a whole area of technology and you dream of what you want to do and you can do it. The biggest
Right.
challenge is for people to understand how they would want to use that information.
Okay. So, in fact, that brings me to a very my second question, which is we know a lot of companies out there are thinking of adopting BIM or have already started the process for adoption. With your firm, and I know you very modestly talked only about being headquartered in Amsterdam, but you have multiple offices across different geographies, and um, I'm sure you must have taken effort in investment in this, all the kind of technology platforms for the data-driven efficiency that you're looking for. How do you do the training? How do you do the engagement of people with the technology? How do you make it easy for them to get on board with doing things? Because one of the challenges I think a lot of companies face is that they have people who have a lot of experience, but they come from the old school, and technology sometimes is, to put it mildly, a little scary for people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's again a very interesting question, and I don't think there is any simple or straightforward answer to this, right?
Yes, it's a
As I
tough one.
said,
I agree.
yeah, like we have 6,000 people globally,
Okay.
spread across 50 different countries, and work on projects in 150 different countries as well. And it's technology is not a challenge in
Hmm.
terms of positioning the value of digitalization, and where, let's say, BIM and digital engineering fits in is a challenge, right? Because obviously the way we work, many perceive it's perfectly fine, so there's no need to change. But then if you see how technology is evolving and the impact that it would have on us and the way we work and the way we deliver our work and the way projects are delivered, that
Right.
obviously has a role to play in that context. So getting uh, people in the organization on board and that on this journey is a challenge for sure, which
Okay.
requires a structured change management approach on trying to articulate the change to the level of that individual in terms of what are the change that he or she is likely to go through in short term and long term. Now,
Okay.
again, we have been like RSDHV has been on this journey for last 4 or 5 years, and we are still learning and we are still evolving. We don't have a perfect solution to this. We are learning, adapting to that, and constantly changing our approach to ensure that we can maximize the impact and be as effective as we aim to be. But
Okay.
what we see is BIM is one of those foundational elements which people has to start with. So that is where we started establishing that foundation a few years ago. And last year, we got a global ISO 19650 certification
Oh, wonderful.
as an organization, so that we ensure that the foundational elements required to adapt and adopt and implement BIM are in place.
The technology is not the issue. Is, I'm sure there's significant investment in training, whether both in-house, classroom based. Could you give some specific examples of that? Because I think some of our partner firms would love to understand a roadmap of how they can get from where they are to the end goal of which would be, even though it's a journey, ongoing journey, uh, how to get started. Would you say start by talking about the benefits, get people convinced about those, and then send them for training, pick the right projects, and those are the kind of things you'd want to talk about?
Again, a very interesting question, but again, can't have a quick answer on
I
this. But
understand.
yes, everything starts with creating an awareness, right?
Okay.
Creating an awareness on what BIM is, what it has to deliver, and then one of the best ways to transition is to transition by implementing it on projects, right?
Right.
So we believe in just doing it, right? We say, okay, if you like something, if you believe this would help, and then just do it and learn by doing it. Otherwise, you'll just end up creating endless roadmaps and then not be able to translate it. So the best way to learn and to do is to do in a way.
Right. So plan and get going.
Yeah.
Perfect. You are a director on the Building Smart initiative, and can you talk about that initiative as well as the role you play, and what is its value for the overall building information modeling community, especially Open BIM?
So I was quite happy that I was invited to join the board of directors of Building Smart last year.
Okay.
And Building Smart is an open standards not-for-profit organization. It's headquartered in the UK with a very small and lean team, which works on the BIM community globally, with regional chapters in almost all countries, almost all the major countries, and various initiatives. One of the core deliverables of Open BIM standards is there's an whole Open BIM toolkit, but one of the key components of that toolkit is IFC, or that IFC schema,
okay,
which is the open standard schema for exchange of data and information. And,
this is what is going to help us make products interoperable with BIM, right?
Exactly, right. So when we talk about, let's say, information management, interoperability, or data interoperability is one of the key foundational elements.
Right.
And to enable that, you need open standards or information to be stored in an open format, which can be exchanged and reused, rather than locking it into proprietary file formats, because
absolutely,
that is not sustainable for us and the kind of projects that we do. So that is where Building Smart plays a key role. And it just released a new IFC schema 4.3, which caters to almost all industry domains, all infrastructure domains. And it is also now in process of getting an ISO certification. So there's a lot of work that Building Smart and the Building Smart community does. And one of, like, I'm kind of keen that the participation from India also increases in that community. Like, currently, there's no chapter of Building Smart in India. And I'm really keen that we form one in India. So yeah, let's see.
No, I think that's something where Excelize would love to play a part with you. I agree with you. Without an open standard for information exchange, we are going to be locked into proprietary systems, and all of us know proprietary solutions are not going to be the way of the future. They just cannot evolve as fast as the market needs it, and there has to be open communication. And this is definitely something that we would strongly support. And I think I will take this up with you offline, where we will see how we can associate and help in this. As a company that is doing some BIM work and BIM services for our customers globally, this is an opportunity we would welcome. I just got a reminder, we have about a minute left in our talk today. Thank you so much, Jugal, for joining us today. And I really appreciate your taking the time to answer my questions so thoughtfully, candidly. I think our listeners and our friends out there would love to learn more about the open BIM standards and what Building Smart is doing, and definitely will be connecting with you to avail of your advice and expertise in some of the opportunities that exist, especially in how to build such a large organization, how to build BIM capabilities for such large organizations. Thank you so much for joining our call today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratap. Thank you.